Hmm. Hello, everyone. We are in beautiful Ubud here for the weekend. Excited to be teaching a workshop this weekend called The Art of Loving Women. And tomorrow, my beautiful beloved will be leading a womb healing. So we felt inspired to share around healing of the feminine. And I feel like it's a topic that is definitely alive in the psyche of a lot of humanity in the feminine in both male bodies as well as female bodies, but a deeper way to cultivate a healing energy within ourselves and as well as how we relate to the external world around us, inside relationship, inside business. So we're going to discuss a lot of different factors and features inside of this very large conversation around healing the feminine. And I'm super excited to have a full house for all of our workshops this weekend. Those of you that are in Bali, there's still a couple spaces left for each one, but we'll dive into conversation here. Thank you, darling, for being here. What's your relationship with healing the feminine? I know for yourself, you've gone through a lot in this journey, and you had some challenging abuse and trauma at a young age, and it's something that's very passionate on your heart. And I just want to honor you as being such a representation of bringing a healing container that allows for so many women especially to feel safe, to let their voices be heard, to let their stories be heard, and to really move through so many of the layers that are in the body. And as we dive into this conversation, I'd just maybe like to hear a little bit of, for those people that haven't heard anything from you, what your story has been around some of the more challenging abuse and trauma that you experienced at a young age.
So I feel like first to give it some context, Tantra is really the path of uniting our masculine and feminine energies. And usually in all of us, one is dominating either the masculine or the feminine. And as a collective, we're really dominated by the masculine, which means that individually most people are dominated by the masculine. And what that means is that, busyness and production and efficiency and the doing is prioritized over the resting and the relaxing and the surrendering. So a lot of my journey has been learning how to slow down, connect to my womb, connect to my body, feel more deeply. And, as Aaron said, we're running these events this weekend, and whenever we run events, I tune into, okay, what is alive here for me to look at, and what does the art of loving this woman mean? And also, the connection to the womb. And really, it always comes down to the same thing. So, to share a bit of my story, there was some sexual abuse trauma when I was younger, and there was a level of emotional abuse as well. And I started to protect myself from a very early age. My feminine kind of went into hiding, and my masculine really stood at the forefront of my life as a guardian or a protector. And what that looked like was I dived into my studies, into reading, into achieving. I did a law degree and then honours in philosophy and certificate 4 in anthroposophy. Then I learned about trauma therapy and Jungian therapy and somatic therapy, and it was all a way to try to understand what was going on for me, and also a way to avoid what was going on for me. So I feel like the mind is much more associated with the masculine, and I spent most of my teenagehood and my 20s in the mind trying to understand the human psyche and trying to avoid my feelings, and both were through study. So I have a very strong work addiction that has kind of flowed through my life that has been a great way for me to be able to avoid myself. And then when I got to my 30s, I was diagnosed with cervical cancer, which really made me look at this feminine center, which is our power center. And, with my understanding of psychology and also of quantum physics, I knew that because I'd manifested this illness, that meant that there was something not right, something that needed looking at and healing beyond the techniques I was already using, you know, meditation, therapeutic techniques, EFT. So a series of synchronistic events led me to a shaman, which then led me into tantra, which really was the missing piece for me. It took healing out of just a therapeutic model into a deep listening of the naturalness that was inside my body, of the primal energies that needed to be given expression, of the wisdom within here that was beyond intellectual understanding, beyond the structure of, okay, how can I create safety for myself? And actually this whole new concept of bringing Shiva, which is the masculine principle in Tantra, bringing Shiva, my awareness, into relationship with Shakti, my breath and life force energy, so that I could really be present with whatever was here. And that was hard, you know, and I've spent the last decade really committed to a deep practice within myself of staying fully present to whatever arises inside of me and going underneath the stories that appear. And a lot of the stories, the theme is that I need to work, I need to do more as far as professional stories go. And as far as relationship, I can't trust men. And both of these have triggered very quickly. And where I'm at now is I have an acute awareness of where I'm buying into the collective toxic belief that we have to burn out, that we have to answer every message on our phone, that I have to take every call, that I have to help every person that needs help, that I have to be in this state of constant doing. And actually, when I can relax and rest into the softness of my emotions, into what's here in this body, into my intuition, I get in touch with such a magical creative force that's actually moving my life in faster directions than I've ever experienced. And I have more clients wanting to work with me than I know what to do with. And I also have more creative energy flowing than I ever have had. And it's so weird how much relaxing and softening and being here leads to deep discoveries, creative energies, synchronicities that actually have expanded me in work and have allowed me to attract a man who can really hold all of me and reflect that part of me that's holding all of myself. So, I'll pass it over to Aaron in a moment, but I just want to give you a practical tool that has been actually life-changing for me, which is to take space from the external and from obligations and from the doing and tune in and ask yourself, you know, what am I needing and what's here right now? And I still trip up on this sometimes, but what's absolutely essential for me when I can feel myself going back into that work mode, that drive mode, the over masculine mode that's not balanced with softness and relaxation and intimacy and connection, is to just go, hey, I can't answer your questions, I can't keep talking to you, I just need some space, or turn my phone off, usually both, and then just tune in, drop in, feel, and really get in touch with what I need. And the part of all of us that hasn't been attuned to, that hasn't been acknowledged in our need for relaxation, in our need for softness, in our need to feel our emotions, in our ability to intuitively be guided in our lives in a way that goes far beyond the capacity of the mind, that needs retraining. And this retraining at a collective level on the planet would mean that a lot of the shit that goes on with, you know, abuse, with rape, with wars, with politicians, it wouldn't be there anymore anywhere near to the same degree, because there would be a lot less thinking and fighting and avoiding, and a lot more dropping in, connecting and attuning to what's actually needed in our own lives and on a planetary level, which is human connection, which is being in curiosity and awe of this world around us, which is being connected to nature and to the beauty of everything that surrounds us, and taking that into our hearts and into these body temples that we've been blessed with as part of this human experience.
you, sweetheart.
You're welcome.
Yeah, and to take this a little bit further, the conversation of healing the feminine. You know, for any of you male bodies who might be listening, sometimes this conversation of masculine and feminine, again, I'm in a male body, but I have a feminine inside, and she's in a female body, she has a masculine inside. But really, often the most abused and neglected feminine is in a male body and on the planet. What, in my very honest perspective, because what I see over and over again is that when the feminine inside of a male body finally has a chance to sit at the table, finally has a chance to share her perspective, finally has a chance to allow her needs, her wants, her desires to be heard and to be felt, then a deeper healing becomes present. But what's the other side of that? When we look on the world right now, and a lot of the abuse and the misuse of power is often from more male, masculine beings that are abusing the feminine. And just as my beloved was saying around rape and abuse and all these other pieces, often because this little girl inside the male's body has never had a chance to fully express. So he takes out all of his aggression out onto another being, onto another organization, another situation. So to heal that feminine, what it requires is a deep vulnerability. It requires a deep vulnerability to look ourselves into the mirror and to be willing to feel what we haven't been willing to feel, to express what we haven't been willing to express, and to allow the everything that's inside of us to actually finally be safe enough and willing enough to move through the body. And that's challenging because the world that we're in is often mind logic driven space. So to shift that in from a mind logic driven space into the body, it requires a capacity to pause. You know, I was just working with a client right before this call, and that capacity, especially in the male psyche or any psyche, when we want to completely go towards something and express our opinion and penetrate because we're trying to get somewhere, to pause and to allow ourselves to feel, to allow ourselves to express, to allow ourselves to have this relationship that Raven was talking about between Shiva and Shakti, between our capacity to witness everything around, and then to actually be willing from that space of witness to express what our needs are, what our values are, how we're actually feeling, and not to feel like we might lose love along the way. So to heal the feminine requires that we see the bigger capacity of all of this, and we have a willingness inside to say, you know what, I'm willing to let my voice be heard. I'm willing to stand in the chaos of all the world around me right now, and it's not, everything's not going to fall apart, but actually what will fall apart is if I continue to try to mind fuck my way through things. So if you're listening to this, if you relate to that capacity inside of you, then what it requires, especially in a male body, is to begin to surrender into the mystery of what's alive in the body. And for those of you that know me, like my background in a maritime military world, I know logic, reason, understanding, complete, you know, everything must make sense. And yet when I began to dive into the feminine mystery in my own body, I was terrified, completely afraid of what was alive inside of me. And I knew that there was a lot of, you know, guilt and frustration and turmoil and all the stuff that was there. And so to really give myself permission to dive into the mystery of everything was terrifying. But what I've experienced is a deeper healing that has allowed the everything inside of me to actually feel comfortable enough to express. Meaning that when I do get upset, and I'm not perfect at it, I can express my needs beyond just the place of emotional throw up into a place of, wow, this is actually what I need. And it's okay for the feminine to have needs. It's okay for the feminine to express her desires and not to be ridiculed for that. And you know, there's a lot of pieces inside of all of this. And if there's questions that arise, if there's things you're wanting more support with, put a comment in any one of the channels that you're watching this on right now. But this is so near and dear to both of our hearts, and it's the reason why, you know, this weekend we have over 50 men coming into a circle together to learn about the art of loving women. But ultimately, they're learning about the art of loving women on the outside, but really learning about how to love the woman on the inside. And it's huge piece that this whole circulatory dynamic allows for the feminine to actually reveal herself in. And yeah.
So I think just leaving you with some practical ways to heal the feminine is to really look at, you know, how much you surrender in your life and breathe and feel into the body and communicate from a space of vulnerability, what you need, tune into what you need, and also just be playful and enjoy life and intimacy and connection. You know, the feminine is so connected to her family, you know, to her friends, to beauty. And I know that when I'm connected to my feminine, what matters the most is, am I loving the people around me? Am I connecting to the people around me? Am I connecting to nature? And is the inspiration for what is flowing forth coming from the mystery of my emotions, from the mystery of, you know, really being able to be here with me? Or is it coming from a goal-driven mentality? So a lot of the masculine way of doing is very focused on goals. Yeah, the feminine way of being is focused more on the heart and intuition and receptivity. So to heal the feminine, you're surrendering more and doing less. You're relaxing more and not placing so much emphasis on productivity. And of course, those things are important, but it's about balancing. And usually, as I said, people are tipped one way or another. And, you know, women or men who are very polarized in their feminine, they tend to drown in the emotion too much, or, you know, have a lot of the visions and creative juice, but not being able to implement in ways that have enough structure to come into the world. So these two energies, you know, they're very necessary in dancing with each other if we're going to express in the world as a whole being, and if we can feel that wholeness deeply within us. So, you know, the art of loving women is quality time, is attunement, is sweetness, is being able to feel and express, like Aaron is saying, and to acknowledge the mysteries of the feminine that are so powerful and that come from, the body. So, you know, how often do you prioritize self-care? Do you prioritize touch? Do you prioritize time in nature and connection? Do you prioritize tuning into your business from a intuitive space and creative visual space? How often you do that will probably be indicative of how much power your feminine has, and her power is dependent on how much healing she's experienced, right? So the more that you heal your feminine, the more power she has. And we often have an unconscious association with the feminine as weakness and as not being powerful. But to me, she has more power than the masculine, you know, because if she's not leading and the masculine is leading, then that means the known is leading rather than the unknown. And to me, the unknown has more power. And that doesn't mean that masculine energy isn't absolutely incredible and beautiful, or that women are better than men. I'm talking about the masculine energy in male bodies and female bodies. You know, it's the energy that births, it's the energy that creates, it's the energy that's capable of bringing forth life in so many different ways. So at the moment on the planet, we are putting all of the power in the masculine, and it's because of that we're repressing the feminine. And whatever's repressed, when something is repressed, then something else has to go over the top, right? When the masculine is over the top, it's competitive, it's argumentative, it's pushy, it's overly opinionated, it's in overdrive, and it's burning out. And we see a lot of that, right? So if we can consciously start to let her lead more, then the masculine that's deeply listening to her within and without is going to start to rise in a much healthier way, I believe.
We want some rising of the feminine.
Yeah, and that's not the rising in the feminine of like, oh, feminine rise, and in a rebellious way. It's in a way of understanding that the feminine is connected to children, right? We're here at a primal biological level to tune into children, to raise children, to birth children. And it's that childlike erotic innocence, it's that childlike emotional innocence, it's that childlike energetic innocence that looks at the world in wonder, that feels without judgment until we're told not to, and that doesn't have any shame around sexuality and exploration, and again until they're shamed for that. And to be childlike, not childish but childlike, is actually the greatest gift you can give to yourself or anyone. It's like on your deathbed, I dare say that you're not going to be going, yes, I fucking won in this life, yes, and think about all of your achievements and the times that you burnt yourself to the ground in being this production machine of efficiency. On your deathbed, I dare say you're going to be feeling into the most beautiful memories with your children, with your beloved, with your family, with beautiful moments, when you gaze upon a new vista and you've never seen anything like it. So, the other part of the feminine and healing the feminine is being sensually aware. The feminine is beautifully sensual and, smell, feel, taste, touch, be in touch with those feminine senses. And I loved the way that Aaron said about, the path for a man to love a woman is to really love the woman inside. A lot of the times when I work with a man, his heart's like a desert. It's just like he just wants to drink that love in. And people think that tantric sessions, there's a lot of misunderstanding that tantric sessions are these saucy, sexy sessions. And I can honestly say that when I work with men, a lot of what I'm usually bringing to them is nurturing love and supporting them to be able to drop in and surrender when they usually wouldn't have a chance to do that, and to just feel what's alive in their hearts and give themselves permission to be in more of the aliveness than in the mind.
Thank you. And so I want to present two invitations for all of you who are listening and tuning in. The first invitation is a place of, again, feeling the feminine within you and recognizing any time that you have either mistreated the feminine inside yourself or mistreated the feminine on the outside. And if there's an individual, if there is a mother or a sister or a beloved that you haven't necessarily allowed her full essence to be expressed and to be shared, then the invitation is to reach out to them, to reach out and to express from a space of, you could say forgiveness, but a space of really allowing what you feel like you have done poorly to be seen, to be heard, to be felt, and to just say, you know what, thank you for who you are, and I'm sorry. I'm sorry for any times that I tried to push down or condemn any part of you that felt too much for me, or any part of you that I didn't necessarily understand. So the first invitation is one of forgiveness, and let that be someone in your family, let that be somebody close to your heart. And I'm sure as soon as I said that, there was a memory, a thought, an idea, some individual. So reach out to that individual today, whenever you're listening to this, to just say, you know what, thank you, I love you, and I'm sorry if at any time I haven't let your everything, let your needs and desires and your expression be fully heard, and I apologize for that. Thank you for the way you show up in the world, and thank you for the place in which you trust your intuition so beautifully. I really honor you, and I see you, and I thank you. I love this woman. And lastly, I want to just lead us now into a very short, brief, really kind of, you'd say, prayer or meditation. Just an opportunity to connect inside of our own heart and to allow whatever it is that's cycling, that's arriving inside of us to be heard and to be felt, and to allow this energy that's alive right here in this communication across the world to give a deeper permission for the feminine in all beings to know that they're safe. So as we take a nice deep breath in together, and sweet, sweet spirit, I'm so thankful to have this channel, to have this beautiful, absolutely incredible woman by my side. And my prayer goes out to the feminine in all beings, the feminine in all bodies. May your heart be warm, may your visions be heard, may your feelings be allowed, may all aspects of you be seen, be heard, be felt into your day-to-day life. And as this prayer is one of offering, of love, of continuity into our world, I want to give this as a thanksgiving and also as a forgiveness, because there's a lot of beings on this planet who need a little bit more permission and sometimes have misused power, sometimes have let power get over them. And so there's a forgiveness to each one of their souls, each one of their beings, that they've done the best they can. And in this moment, may this call, may this moment be something where those layers can be shed away, where the misunderstandings can begin to dissolve, and the feminine inside of all beings can begin to thrive, to come alive, to remember the full essence of this human experience, the joy to smell the flowers, the joy to dance in the rain, the joy to scream and yell and let anger and full expression vibrate through the body, and to know all is holy, all is divine, all is absolutely perfect, and it gives life into this particular moment. It gives life into all of us who feel this, who know this, who allow vibration of love to move through their bodies. So thank you, sweet spirit, for an opportunity to heal away any time that the feminine hasn't had a chance to fully thrive. And I thank each one of you for your willingness to show up into your family, into your community, with your heart on your sleeve, with vulnerability connected into your being in a way that lets humanity begin to thrive, and into a world where safety is transparently known inside of all beings. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
And the invitation is to make a little pledge to your own feminine right now, to pause and slow down for long enough to listen to her, to listen to what she needs. Just place a hand on your womb. You know, a womb is energetic as well as physical, so for the men, placing a hand on your energetic womb and really just taking a moment to tune into her and just let whatever feelings are there be there, and just ask, you know, is there anything you need today? So this is a huge topic of discussion that Aaron and I are both passionate about, but we'll leave that here. There's lots more that will support you in our blogs and podcasts. And if any of the women feel called for the womb healing tomorrow, it's going to be a powerful, potent space of all of us together, releasing a lot of that repression on the feminine that is ancestral and generational, and really releasing our own personal trauma and repression from our wombs, so that we can clear the space and then open it up for something that really honors her great mystery and her great power. And for the men, obviously we have a few spots left, as Aaron said, for the weekend. So we love you all, and thank you for joining us. May the feminine be listened to today.
Thank you.